Thank you, everyone. Good morning, hello, kia ora. Part of my role as Toastmaster is to be absolutely, positively a congenial host. And a congenial host is someone who's cheerful, positive, and entertaining. Now, this morning I had a very amazing connection with Andre in terms of his speech. He's a young person, he's a university student, and he's been successful right up to this time. And I believe he's studying politics and international relationships. And this is his 7th speech, and it's from the CC manual. It's actually called The Power to Persuade, and his objectives are, to appeal to the audience through reason and through his powers of persuasion, and it's the impact of that. He's got 5 minutes to do it in, 5 to 7 minutes. At 5 minutes it'll be a green light, at 6 minutes it'll be a yellow light, orange light, and red on 7 minutes. And the title of his speech is The Deadlier Sins. It's absolutely reeking with suspense, and I leave it up to Andre to do his bit.
Okay. Madam Chair, fellow Toastmasters, and honoured guests. Pride, greed, gluttony, lust, envy, wrath, and sloth. For thousands of years, the very concept of right and wrong has been defined by these 7 deadly sins. Now, many of you would consider these vices to be set in stone. But in 1962, the king of spy fiction, Ian Fleming, declared that these sins were irrelevant for the modern age. He argued that they had been written for monks. As a result, he made a new list. Now, many of you would consider this a fool's errand. How could a mere thriller writer compete with the Word of God? But the list Fleming came up with is very relevant. Meet the 7 deadlier sins: hypocrisy, malice, self-righteousness, avarice, cruelty, snobbery, and self-righteousness. These sins have overtaken the original 7 as the main causes of misery in the world today. I shall now preach to you about the 3 sins which I consider the most dangerous: hypocrisy, self-righteousness, and moral cowardice. Not practicing what you preach, that is hypocrisy. It is something humanity is constantly guilty of. Think back. There's at least one time in your life which you have indulged in hypocrisy. There's almost no escape from it. A real-life example of hypocrisy would have to be the British Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. For over a century, UK Labour has preached a lie called decency. They claim that they are the decent chaps, more honest and pure than those supposedly nasty Tories. But the lie was shattered when Corbyn set up shop. This is a man who demands that refugees be let in, while at the same time speaking up for the very Islamic terrorists who caused the refugee problem in the first place. His minions are no better. From sexist social media attacks against female MPs who refuse to bow down to the dear leader, to rioting at the Conservative Party conference, these hypocrites hark about their cherished decency, and yet offer none. A fanatic is someone who can't change their mind and won't change the subject. Winston Churchill summed up the person who suffers from self-righteousness. This is the sin I particularly loathe. I consider a self-righteous mindset the worst sort of flaw any person can have. It closes our minds off from the possibility that we might be wrong. And people have died from this. Just look at the Islamic terrorists. They claim to be building a better world through their actions. But as we all know, actions speak louder than words. Their moral self-righteousness has warped their mindset. They believe that they are right and their 5 billion fellow humans are wrong, and it means that they are willing to commit horrendous atrocities against those who merely disagree with them. The final sin of the day is moral cowardice. While it's not as common as hypocrisy or as lethal as self-righteousness, I believe that this sin is about to become more prevalent. It is not be willing to fight when there is still a chance to, and it crops up in many things, but in one surprising place. In the French thriller Rififi, the main character's wife gives her criminal husband a piece of her mind. Contrary to his delusions, she claims that he is not brave for living the life of a lone outlaw. Rather, it's normal people like her who are the truly brave ones. Those who get up in the morning, even when they don't want to. Those who are willing to live and die having never touched society's temptations and embraced a life of moral cowardice and sin. We come to the end of my sermon. While, as you can see, there's much sin in the world today. While the original 7 deadly sins are now irrelevant, as Ian Fleming had pointed out in 1962, there are still many ways to get on the highway to hell. Ways which are lurking about in the darkness of today's society. Thank you.
Thank you, Andre. The most pleasing part of Toastmaster's role is, number 1, to introduce speakers, and number 2 is really the good and sweet part. It's to give awards, to acknowledge achievements, and to recognise success. Our next guest